Are you a first-time competitor just trying to see how it goes? Do you secretly hope that you can just wing it in the competition? If you just look the part, you'll be sure to figure it out along the way. And have you ever thought, I'll just get some experience this year and maybe next year I'll really try to win? Let me tell you something hard but true. Most contestants don't lose because they're untalented or unworthy. They lose because they walk in unprepared, not knowing where the bar actually is, and by that time that they realize it, it's far too late. In today's episode, I'm breaking down the 5 rookie mistakes that cost first-time competitors the crown so that you can save yourself the time, the money, and the energy and heartache of learning the hard way. Well, welcome back to the Powerhouse Pageantry Podcast. I'm your coach, Coach Megan Rhodes, and my mission is to help ambitious women just like you show up like the women judges want to hire. Confident, poised, prepared, know their identity, and ready to win. So if you're competing for the first time, listen closely. This episode might save you from the pain that almost every rookie goes through, including me. Because here's what happens. A girl enters her first pageant, buys all the pretty expensive wardrobe, works out super hard and has the fittest body, hires the perfect hair and makeup artist, works super hard to practice her walk, memorizes a bunch of answers and interview questions and thinks, okay, great, I'll probably figure it out just as we go. Then she gets on stage and realizes she never even knew where the bar was. She worked super hard, but on the wrong things. She leaves wondering, what just happened? I thought I did so great, and definitely doesn't place how she thought she should place. I've seen it over and over again over the last 9 years of coaching. Incredible women who had the heart, but not the proper strategy. They winged it, and it definitely cost them the crown. So today I'm going to show you the 5 biggest rookie mistakes that make that happen. And frankly, I've seen people who have even competed for a super long time but just haven't had the proper coaching and strategy make these mistakes. So don't tune out if you are not a first-time competitor. This will still be absolutely helpful for you, and you want to make sure that you're not making any of these mistakes because they will cost you points and ultimately could cost you the crown. So I'm going to teach you exactly what to do instead so that you can walk into whether it's your first pageant or your 5th pageant, your 10th pageant, or your first pageant, as we have many of you, in 10 or 20 years so that you know exactly what to do. So with that being said, let's dive into the first rookie mistake, and I'm super excited to hear if this is something that you have struggled with. So like I said, the mistake number 1 is I will just figure it out. It's winging it. It's the DIY approach. And not that I don't love all y'all listening to the podcast, because I want you to listen to now all 304 episodes of this. Today's 304th episode. We've been doing this for 8 years now, 7 or 8 years, which is crazy, the podcast specifically. And I'll never forget when I had won Miss Douglas County, which is part of the Miss Omaha system. Then I won Miss Nebraska on my first try. And then, like Miss America is now, they just moved it back up. I went to Miss America 10 weeks later as a 21-year-old who had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Obviously, I was so excited, so honored to have won Miss Nebraska on my first try, to have won all my pageants on my first try. But because I was so convincing and I'm naturally a pretty charismatic person, I just sales pitched all of my directors and was like, I'm ready. And I was convincing them that I was doing way more than I was, if I was being honest. And it was such a short time period. You're just in a frenzy the entire time. And then on top of that, I was like, no, I got this in terms of my talent, which is like my most comfortable part of competition. And just other things that, because of, again, my sheer sales ability, I convinced my entire team that I was way more ready than I was. And I think I did like 1 interview coaching lesson before Miss America. And point blank, when I got to Miss America, I had no idea how I would feel because I just assumed that it would feel exactly the same as my local pageant and my state pageant. So when I went to Miss America and I was around people older than me, they had degrees, they had PhDs, they had been competing in pageants since they could walk. This is all they ever wanted to be and do and have their entire life. And I did not resonate with that since I was quite new to pageants. They were the skinniest, fittest people I've ever seen. They had plastic surgery, like all the things that I was just like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. And I remember feeling immediately defeated that even the work that I did put in, it just felt like it was for nothing. And so now I was stuck there for 2 to 3 weeks. It's how long we were there at the time. And I remember just thinking, this is like my personal hell because I know that I'm not ready. There's nothing that I can do about it now. So I'm stuck here and I don't feel cool enough or ready enough to be friends with the cool girls who are probably going to be in the top 5. And I was right. And Women are wired to know where they're at in a pack, you guys. Like, we just know, okay? And so it's really uncomfortable when we get into that room and now energetically you're totally discerning correctly that other people have worked harder than you, have a more polished look than you, have more polished communication than you. And it causes this ping-ponging in your head, this anxiety, all these different thoughts, feelings, emotions that are driving to the surface. And it's only a matter of time before you have a breakdown of some kind. It's only a matter of time before something sets you off and you're crying in the bathroom, or you have a panic attack, or again, something just is the final 1% that sends you over the edge. And it's all because you are actually quite an authentic person that knows that you are not ready. Yet you're trying to convince yourself, no, I'm ready. I can do this. I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. I might have a chance to make top 15, when in reality, like, it's not going to happen. And I'm willing to be honest with you about that because I've been in that position. And this is why I have such a focus on internal and then external achievement nowadays. And why we have a whole separate program where I just work on you with your high performance mindset, because achievement can get us so far until it can't. And this was my experience. I got through Miss Nebraska literally just winging it because I was raised by two singers and I am a really smart person. I had a 4.2 GPA and I knew I would kill my talent, and I got myself into shape and practiced by myself my interview and things like that. And that was good enough for me in that season. Would it be good enough today? Probably not. And my hair and makeup was tragic. Like, it was so bad, you guys. My outfits were good only because my mom helped me and she's a fashionista, right? So I worked really, really hard. But the thing that I always tell people is that, like, you only get one chance at Miss America. You only win your state pageant one time. And so you want to make sure that you win at the right time, in the right way, in the right season. And I just wish that somebody would have been honest with me to be like, Megan, fine, you think you're ready? Prove it to me. Go perform the song. Go walk. Go practice in your dress. Go do all these things. And I was not consistent. So the biggest takeaway from here, and why I don't want you to wing it, is it might work for you in this season. But then when the next door opens for you, the one that you really, really do want, you don't want to miss your only opportunity to go get it. That would be really, really sad. And that could be your state pageant. That could be your Miss America, Miss USA experience, could be an international pageant, whatever that is for you. You want to make sure that you know where the bar is, so that you can put people in your life that are willing to be honest with you to say, honey, you're just not there yet, but you can get there. You just need the right support. You need to invest in the right things. You need the person who's going to tell you, your hair is tragic, you need hair extensions because your hair is not full enough on its own and you're doing a pageant. You need the person that's saying, that's the wrong lip color for you. You need the person that's going to say, girl, you need to get a spray tan. Like, you are transparent, you're scaring people on stage. You need to get the person that says, that dress looks terrible on you, but I love you, but we can make a better choice. Or, this interview is not good. This talent, you are not a good singer. You need to do a monologue. That is someone that is setting the bar for you in a loving way, keyword loving way. That, like the Bible says, whom the Father loves, he corrects. So when it's proper constructive criticism, it actually feels like comfort and protection of someone loves you enough to not allow you to embarrass yourself publicly on stage, because public embarrassment and being ignored are actually two of, like, humans' worst fears in the entire world. It's been proven psychologically that people would rather that you argue with them than ignore them. Being ignored sends a signal of, I'm not even worthy enough to be argued with. I'm not even worthy enough to be noticed. So those two extremes happen in pageants, where you are either publicly embarrassing yourself because no one told you to tone it down or to stop doing a certain thing that is going to make you look stupid or silly. And then the opposite of, you just didn't even make a splash enough for me to even remember that you were in the pageant. And just let that sink in for a second, okay? Being ignored, oh, did she even compete? I forgot she even competed. That's a worse feeling than even tripping or, again, having like a super loud gown. Like, oh, I remember her, right? She needed some tailoring. So this is why I wanted to say this is number one. And I'm willing to be honest with you as your coach and mentor via this podcast. And why I want to lead people towards this excellence and this awareness, because the first step in changing something is noticing something. And I want to encourage you to notice but not label, to notice but not judge when it comes to these things that might be bubbling up in you where you're like, oh, yeah, she's talking to me. So we notice, we don't judge, but then you do have to choose to take a different action than the actions that got you here, right? Okay, mistake number 2. The second biggest mistake that newbies make is thinking that they have to go in being perfect. And they think that what wins is focusing on being perfect in all areas rather than connecting in all areas. So how it shows up is every part of you is flawless. You are not vulnerable. You are not deep. You don't really I'm not here to make friends. I'm here for the competition. And it's a very shallow awareness, actually, that if we're actually being really honest, if you were to count the amount of thoughts that are about yourself, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it actually just makes you unhappy. I've said this before on the podcast, but they've studied sociopaths and psychopaths. Jordan Peterson mentioned this. And he said that people who are very high on the sociopathic levels think about themselves like 80% of the time. And it's way more than like a normal range person is the amount of times they're thinking I, me. So this is why in all of our programs, we teach on how to grow a perspective bigger than you, an impact bigger than you, a why bigger than you, and really getting you to connect with your deepest set identity and values and God's purpose and mission for your life. Because when we scope out, it makes fixing the things that you need to fix skill set wise for a pageant seem so small and therefore less intimidating too. So instead of just thinking, oh, if I say the wrong thing, I will fail and therefore I am a failure, which causes you to honestly just come across really robotic and inauthentic and unmemorable. How to fix this is I want you to really think about and practice in your everyday life. Like, do I know when I'm connecting with somebody? When I'm speaking to the waitress, do I try to connect with her, or am I just like, change my salad, get me this? And I don't make eye contact with a lot of people in my real life, right? When you're ordering at Starbucks, can you make eye contact with the person and say thank you and really try and connect with them, right? Or as you give a tip, can you thank somebody? Like at the grocery store, just in your everyday life, can you already work on that leadership and making other people feel seen, making other people feel heard, giving other people a positive experience with you when you walk into a room? I was listening to late last night scrolling, if you know the show Sullivan's Crossing, it's a Canadian show, and it has Chad Michael Murray, right, the heartthrob of the 90s and early 2000s, which is my generation, and Hilary Duff. He was talking about Hilary Duff and when they did Cinderella Story together, and he was talking about how Chad was a bit of a jerk when he was 18 because he moved to Hollywood and got a job right away, and so he was never told no. And he said that's the worst thing you could ever do to someone is have them never hear the word no, because then they have this inflated version of themselves where I like to say it's like population one, and you're the mayor and the governor and the only citizen, and nobody would know any different because all you ever talk about and think about is yourself. So he said he was a little bit of a jerk growing up, and he's grown and changed. Well, what he said about Hillary, Liz McGuire, if you don't know, is the exact opposite. He said there's something about her that if she were to walk in this room right now, every single head would turn. And he said she's one of the most graceful and kindest people you've ever met in your life. And I just thought that was the most beautiful, heartfelt, authentic compliment. Let that be said about you. What might you have to change internally to affect a room in such a way? Let that be a standard that we all set for ourselves. I just thought that was so beautiful. Let's lead to mistake number 3 next. So this is treating the interview like a test instead of a conversation. So what does this look like? You download our 365 interview questions, which I highly recommend because it has a bunch of other amazing stuff that will help you in the other 30 pages of it that are going to go deeper, okay? But let's say that you download our 365 interview questions and you only read the questions. This is literally what I used to do for my first pageant when I was like 15. I would stay up late at night. I can visualize myself in my living room, and I downloaded, I think, Pageant Planet or something questions at the time, and I would check them off in my little piece of paper, and I'd print them out at home. And I practiced every single little question that I could think of. And then I remember I would ask myself, well, why? Actually, I might have done this for Miss Omaha too. But I remember asking myself, like, why was I still so nervous? Like, why did this not scratch the itch that I thought that it would scratch? And I know now is because, well, first of all, 99% of the time you live in your unconscious, not your conscious mind. So when you're practicing interview questions, you're practicing in your conscious. And it's really not doing anything to fix the unconscious behaviors of anxiety or I'm not good enough or this belief that you're not smart, you're not good on your feet, you're not adaptable, you're not a good communicator. If you have all those beliefs, and on top of that, if you have unmet needs and values, which are a whole other conversation that we can have, then when the unconscious mind takes over because you're in fight or flight, freeze, fawn, or whatever, because you're nervous, and you put yourself in a high stress, high pressure environment, then that's, of course, why memorization You forget everything. This is the number one reason why people fail at onstage question, because they only practice consciously. They don't practice unconsciously. And they don't practice relaxation techniques. They don't practice visualization. They don't do any identity transformation. They still carry a core identity statement of, I'm going to fail, I'm not smart enough for this, I'm not adaptable, onstage question is hard. If you carry those beliefs, then you create a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we cannot treat the interview like a test. You cannot study for it and memorize it and get an A. You have to be as adaptable as possible and actually as relaxed as possible and learn how to have fun, right? Which might sound good in theory, but it really is the key. Is having fun causes you to relax, causes other parts of your brain to light up, causes you to be in a state of play, and causes your imagery, which is what you need to be able to recall to succeed in onstage question and your interview, to flow with ease, which causes you to crush every single question, okay? Mistake number 4. So mistake number 4 is focusing on image over substance. Now, image does matter. You need to figure out your signature look. You need to have relevant clothing for your industry, for your pageant, for your age group, all these kinds of things. You need to fit in, yet also stand out at the same time. You need to figure out what's the vibe, like what's the game that we're playing here. Look at past winners, look at previous wardrobe, look at social media. All those things are great to garner and gather information to help you succeed. But you don't want to be a beautiful glass house that if you start melting on the inside, it melts everything on the outside, okay? Let your internal match your external and your external match your internal beauty. Be as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside. Be as congruent and authentic on the inside as you are on the outside. And figure out what that means for you to feel your most beautiful ever, and at the same time, feel your most beautiful ever on the inside. And when you can do that, that's what creates that charisma. That's what creates that power, presence, warmth, and this it factor of someone that carries this relaxed leadership presence, this grace. Again, the Hilary Duff effect. Like, you know that when you walk into a room, you can literally sense the atmosphere of the room changing to you because of who you are. That's an amazing goal to set for yourself today. And rounding this out, this brings me to mistake number 5, which is solely practicing alone and staying in your head. So you can run mock questions in your bedroom mirror. You can never get feedback, and you can tell yourself, I think that sounded good. A reason why people do things alone is they might think, well, I don't have the resources for this, or if I put myself out there, someone will tell me that I'm not ready. But why this hurts you is actually when you do that, you're bringing actually more attention to your blind spots rather than fixing them. And one of the just very practical things that I recommend for all of you to do is to record yourself on your phone and watch it back with no sound, listen back without looking at the visual, and then look at it all together and look at it objectively, like you're watching someone else, like a scientist, and really try to notice, like, does this person captivate me? What is weird about their face when they're talking? Do their eye movements, their facial expressions, their hand gestures feel like they go naturally with the words coming out of their mouth? Or is there something awkward or off about them? How do they make me feel? Why do they make me feel that way? Why do they make me feel comfortable? Why do they make me feel uncomfortable? Why do I think they're uncomfortable? What do I think is going on in their head? If you can practice this way and watch yourself back, which is hard because it's like looking in a mirror, it is the best, fastest thing that you can possibly do to organically and quickly, like, get better at interview, get better at speaking, get better at, heck, I always say, like, even if you're wondering why people aren't saying yes to a second date with you, it quite literally could be your face. It could be like the way that you have no idea that you're like RBFing people, or even your tone. Your tone could come across as condescending. Your tone could come across as they think you're being bored by them. Your tone could come across as you want to be somewhere else. Your body language could be you have no idea that you accidentally rolled your eyes, something like that. So just overall self-awareness is really, really important when you're talking about leadership and impact and influence. We want to make sure that the healthiness that we are on the inside is so healthy and so magnetic and so like representing the love of God that it just pours out on people like a blanket all around you. And that's what I get really excited about. We did, at the time of this recording, we did our first Bible study with my husband and his whole crew. We had 44 people on at one time in our first Bible study. It was so exciting. It's every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. If you guys want to join, you can just DM us on Powerhouse Pageantry on Instagram, the word Bible study. And we call it the No BS BS, the No BS Bible study. And it's just an amazing time to help you grow in your identity, to grow in your walk with the Lord, to grow in your gifts, to meet like-minded people. We did like a big round table today where everybody got to meet people. We had people from like 15, 20 different states. It was amazing. Probably more than that, actually. And it was a blast. So we're always trying to put things in front of you guys. Like, yes, we're here to win a pageant, but I want better people to win pageants. Does that make sense? Like, I want people who are actually going to do something with the crown, actually do something with their life, actually make an impact, who represent the Lord in such a powerful way and point things back to Him, frankly. You know, we don't have all the time in the world. And I don't know about you, but God's really calling me to be bolder, to be holier, to be happier, healthier, wealthier, so that we can bring more souls to Him. Like, this is literally a matter of life and death. And so it's just been such a joy. I've had 6 or so new people join our academy and my mindset mentorship this week alone. My calendar is just booked full with a lot of you guys. And so make sure that you just click the links in the bio and description below for the freebies that are currently going on and how to get on our calendar if you do want to take a next step and you know that we're your coaches for you. You've been listening for a long time. And I just want to say that God's really just given me like a newfound joy for pouring into you guys, especially after everything that's just happening in America right now. I believe that there's a divine shift of people coming back to God and coming back to church and standing up for biblical values. And it's really cool just to see so many of you guys saying that that's why you want to work with us. And it's been like almost every single person this week. It's because I was bold, which of course was scary in a sense, but because of my team's boldness to put our faith out there and put our beliefs out there, it really has drawn so many of you guys to us. So you can DM us the word, let's see, what is the word of the week for this week? It is checklist. You can DM the word checklist, and we're going to send you guys the 20 exact steps to win your pageant. This is great for everybody from newbies, rookies to veterans. So we'll send that over if you type in the word checklist on Instagram. And then, of course, you can always send us the word 365Q on Instagram as well and get our 30-page interview training. And keep rocking on these podcasts, you guys. I'm super excited. We're in the height and the thick of pageant season now. So if you want our support when it comes to coaching, start with some freebies, and then we can connect with you further if you want to work with us one-on-one. We'll see if we have a spot open for you. That's it for today. Get ready. We're about 5 weeks out from Black Friday, and I'm just teasing y'all because we have something I'm so excited about. We're giving like the most we've ever given away for the least amount we've ever given it away for. So save your pennies, start asking your parents now. It's going to be really, really fun and exciting. And I love Christmas time. I love the holidays. I love giving. And then it'll almost be time for Mastermind as well. So if you are new-ish here, you've never heard of Mastermind, bunch of updates today. End of March, we always have an in-person pageant. And then we have a VIP day where we do the pageant on the first day, and then a regular attendee day where you get a full day of speakers and pageant practice and meeting new friends. It's here in Omaha, Nebraska, and it's a blast. And it is a huge chance to practice everything before you have to do anything live in your pageant. So Pageant Academy students always get first access to those tickets, and then we release them to the rest of the world. So pencil your calendars for the last weekend in March. We'll be sending emails shortly before the end of the year, so you guys can start getting that on your calendars. And it'll be here before we know it. Time's going fast. So thanks for watching this episode today. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or Spotify and Apple Music. I'd love for you guys to give us a review if you're on one of those things, if this podcast has blessed you. And as always, we're just a DM away on Instagram if you're ready for some help. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week.